Welcome to a world where danger and desire collide, where one man's obsession could consume a life, and one woman's innocence could ignite a storm. If your heart races for forbidden romance, if you crave tension, passion, and the dark pull of obsession, then you're in the right place. Subscribe now and step into Dominic Moretti's world, a world of power, possession, and relentless desire. Because once you enter, there's no turning back. Subscribe and let the story take hold. The rain pelted the city streets like shards of glass, and Isabella Rossi's heels clicked frantically against the slick pavement. Her chest heaved, her dress clinging to her slender frame, soaked and trembling. Somewhere behind her, the growl of a car engine sliced through the night, sharp and predatory, and she had tried to escape. Tried to vanish from a life that suddenly felt like a trap, a cruel joke, played by fate and her family's relentless insistence. But she knew deep down, she couldn't run forever. A sleek black sedan skidded to a stop beside her. The door opened before she could react, and there he was, Dominic Moretti. Tall, brooding, dangerous. His green eyes pierced through the shadows as if he could see, every thought racing through her mind. The rain traced down his sharp jaw, and his dark hair, slicked back and gleaming, made him look like a storm incarnate. "You shouldn't be out here." His voice was low, controlled, but every word dripped with danger. "It's reckless." Isabella froze, heart hammering. I just needed air," she whispered, trying to keep her fear hidden behind a veil of calm. His eyes narrowed. A flicker of something, possession maybe, crossed his expression. "Air," he repeated, stepping closer. The scent of him, cigarette smoke and something sharp, metallic, intoxicating, filled her senses. "You've been hiding from me, Isabella. Don't bother. You can't hide from me." Her breath caught. He was relentless, unstoppable. And yet, there was something else there. A heat beneath the coldness, a tension that made her pulse spike. Why are you doing this?" she asked, her voice trembling. I didn't agree to." "Shh," he cut her off, his hand brushing against her wrist, firm, claiming as though he had every right to touch her. "Your family made the decision. You have no choice. And honestly, I don't care what you think." She pulled back, almost stumbling, and Dominic caught her effortlessly, his grip ironclad. "Stop, pretending you can fight me," he said, leaning in so close she could feel the heat radiating from his body. "This marriage, it's already mine, and soon, so are you." The words sent shivers down her spine. Fear, yes, but something else too, something she couldn't name. A spark of forbidden curiosity, of attraction she shouldn't feel, rising unbidden in her chest. A sudden horn blared from the street, making her flinch. Dominic's eyes flicked toward the sound, and for the briefest moment, vulnerability flashed across his face, just for a heartbeat. Then it vanished, replaced with the mask of the Mafia boss everyone feared. "Get in," he commanded, opening the car door, "or we stay out here. And trust me, the streets aren't kind to girls who run." Isabella hesitated. Her instincts screamed no, but the storm was ruthless, the streets dangerous, and Dominic, terrifyingly magnetic. She swallowed hard, heart pounding, and slid into the back seat. As the door closed behind her, the rain pouring over the city, one thought consumed her. She was trapped. And the man in front of her, the brutal, unyielding Dominic Moretti, was about to claim her life, her heart, maybe even her soul. The car sped into the night, leaving the neon-lit streets behind, and Isabella knew, whatever happened next, there would be no turning back. The car's engine hummed through the night, a low, threatening growl as Isabella pressed her, back against the seat, drenched and shivering. Rain streaked the windows like tears she couldn't let fall, masking her panic. Every shadow outside seemed to twist with menace, every passing streetlight a warning. Dominic drove in silence, his hands steady on the wheel, jaw tight, eyes on the road. But Isabella knew him too well now. She could feel the tension radiating off him like heat from a fire. He wasn't angry. Not exactly. That cold, terrifying control that made him dangerous, magnetic, and completely unapproachable. It was there. Waiting. Calculating. "You think you're scared?" His voice broke the silence, low, almost a growl, cutting straight into her chest. "Good, you should be." Her hands tightened on her knees. I'm not," she stammered. But the words died in her throat as the car swerved slightly, narrowly missing a puddle that could have sent them sliding into disaster. Dominic's lips curved into a shadow of a smile, but his eyes remained lethal. "You will learn, quickly," he said. "Fear, obedience, desire, they all come together, and right now you're drowning in all three." Her pulse quickened, a mix of terror and something she couldn't define. Desire? No, that was impossible. And yet, his presence, the way he dominated the space around her, it made her heart stutter, her breaths shallow, her body aware in ways she hated herself for. "You'll hate me," he continued, his gaze catching hers in the rearview mirror. "But you'll obey me. Anyway, you'll learn that I always get what I want, and right now, I want you." She swallowed hard, lips trembling, trying to maintain the fragile control she clung to. I'm not yours. I never agreed to this." Dominic's hand shot out, resting against the door beside her, trapping her in a cage of heat and authority. "You agreed the moment you stopped running," he said softly, yet with a deadly finality. "And the moment I caught you, that was it. No more choices." A sudden flash of headlights blinded them for a second, pulling Isabella from the hypnotic pull of his presence. Her mind raced. The city, the streets. What if someone tries to stop him? What if I'm trapped forever? Dominic glanced at her, almost amused, and the tiniest smirk tugged at his lips. "Thinking about escape again?" he asked. "Don't bother. No one is coming. And if they do..." His voice dropped, sharp and lethal. "They won't leave in one piece." The words hit her like ice. She clenched her fists, nails digging into her palms. He was a storm, unpredictable, dangerous. And yet, he wasn't just a storm. Somewhere beneath that brutal exterior, Isabella sensed something else. A fragment of obsession? Something dangerously soft, hidden beneath layers of ice. The cityscape blurred past them as the rain pounded harder, thunder rolling overhead like an omen. Dominic finally broke the silence. "We'll be at the estate soon," he said. "But don't think the danger stops there. You're stepping into my world now. And in my world, no one survives. Unclaimed." Isabella's chest tightened. His world. My prison, she thought, trying to swallow the rising panic. The car dipped into the shadows of the mansion's entrance, massive gates looming ahead, wet marble glinting ominously under the storm. And as the engine cut off, leaving only the roar of the rain and the distant thunder, Isabella realized with chilling clarity. Her life had changed forever, and Dominic Moretti, the brutal, ruthless man at the wheel, was already in control of her every heartbeat. The massive gates of the Moretti estate groaned open, revealing a sprawling mansion that seemed carved from shadows. Rain slid down its marble pillars, lightning briefly illuminating the intricate carvings of lions and serpents that flanked the entrance. Isabella's heart raced, not just from fear, but from awe. Every detail screamed wealth, power, and danger. Dominic stepped out first, his coat slicked with rain, hair plastered to his head, but somehow more commanding. Without a word, he held the door open for her, eyes never leaving hers. The air between them was thick, almost suffocating. "You're going to stay here," he said, voice low and commanding, almost a growl. "This is your home now. You will not wander, you will not complain, and you will obey my rules." Isabella swallowed, the enormity of the moment crashing down on her. "Home?" she whispered, voice trembling. Her legs felt weak. Every instinct screamed to run, yet she couldn't move. Dominic's smirk was faint but sharp, like a predator circling prey. "Yes, home. For now," he said. "You're mine, Isabella. Everyone knows it, everyone respects it. Eventually, so will you." Inside, the mansion was warm, almost too warm, as if the walls themselves were alive, watching. The polished floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers, and the scent of cigars and expensive cologne hung in the air. Servants moved silently, eyes down, offering polite nods but no words. Isabella noticed them, tense, every muscle in her body screaming warning. Dominic led her through a grand hallway lined with portraits of men with sharp eyes, men who had died young or violently, or both. She shivered. "This is a world I don't belong in," she thought, gripping her wet dress, nails digging into her palms. "Your room," Dominic said abruptly, opening a heavy oak door. Inside, the space was opulent. 4-poster bed, velvet curtains, a fireplace already crackling. But the luxury did nothing to calm her. It felt like a gilded cage. "You'll stay here tonight," he instructed. "And tomorrow, we begin." His words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken threats. Isabella took a cautious step inside, glancing back at him. "Tomorrow, what happens?" "Tomorrow?" she asked, voice barely a whisper. Dominic's eyes darkened, a dangerous glint appearing. "Tomorrow, you'll learn the rules of my world, and you'll start to understand. Obedience can be rewarding." A sudden crash of thunder made the room vibrate. Isabella flinched, and Dominic's hand shot out, resting on her shoulder. His touch was firm, claiming, and made her stomach twist. "Do not mistake fear for weakness," he said softly, almost intimately. "There's a fine line, and you're standing on it." She swallowed, heat rising to her cheeks despite the chill. Her pulse thundered in her ears, a mix of terror, desire, and disbelief. How could one man make her feel so small, so trapped, and yet so aware of every inch of her? The wind howled outside as rain battered the windows, and Isabella realized the truth. She was inside Dominic Moretti's world now, and there was no escaping, physically, emotionally, or perhaps spiritually. Dominic lingered at the doorway, his green eyes holding hers, unreadable. Then finally he turned and left without another word, leaving her alone in the flickering candlelight. Alone, but not safe, not ever. Her mind raced. How do I survive him? How do I resist him? But beneath the fear, a dangerous thought whispered, one she couldn't quite silence. And what if I don't want to resist? The storm outside raged on, drowning the mansion in shadow and thunder, while inside, Isabella Rossi understood something terrifying, intoxicating, and inevitable. Her life, and her heart, had already been claimed. Isabella sat on the edge of the velvet bed, trembling, her fingers tracing the intricate patterns on the sheets, as if the touch could ground her. The mansion was silent now, save for the rain hammering against the windows. But the silence felt alive, heavy, watching. She had barely unpacked before Dominic returned. The door opened without a knock, his presence filling the room instantly. The shadows of his frame stretched across the floor like a dark storm. "You shouldn't sit there," he said, voice low, almost a growl. "Looking helpless. It doesn't suit you." Her chest tightened. "I'm tired," she whispered, avoiding his piercing gaze. Dominic stepped closer, the faint scent of his cologne, smoky, sharp, intoxicating, filling the air around her. His eyes scanned her from head to toe, calculating, measuring, claiming. "Tired?" he repeated, amusement flickering in his expression. "You should know by now, Isabella. Tired isn't an option in my world." Her stomach twisted. She hated how easily his words unnerved her, how his presence made her pulse race, how her body reacted against her will. "Your world. I don't belong here." "She," said, voice shaking. He tilted his head, studying her, a shadow of a smile tugging at his lips. "Maybe not yet, but you will," he said softly, leaning in so close she could feel the heat radiating off him. "Because this world, it will claim you one way or another. And right now, it's already begun." She swallowed hard, realizing her pulse had doubled, her hands curling into fists. I won't, she stammered, but the words sounded weak, even to her own ears. Dominic's hand rested lightly on her shoulder, heavy with unspoken authority. "Willingness isn't necessary," he said, voice a dangerous whisper. "Obedience, submission, they'll come. You'll see. And maybe, just maybe, you'll thank me." A sudden crash of thunder shook the room. Isabella flinched, and Dominic's hand shot down to steady her. His touch was firm, but not violent, yet every nerve in her body screamed that she should pull away. "You're terrified of me," he said, voice softening, almost intimate. "But you shouldn't be. Not entirely. Fear is useful, yes, but fascination, curiosity, that's where the real power lies." Her breath caught. Curiosity? Fascination? She hated that his words made her pulse flutter, that the thought of him, his presence, stirred something inside her. She didn't understand, and didn't want to understand. He leaned closer, his lips inches from her ear. "Tonight, you'll stay in this room. Tomorrow, I'll teach you about loyalty, obedience, desire." Her mind raced. Desire? Loyalty? Obedience? What does he mean? How can one man hold so much power over me, over my body, my mind, my very soul? Dominic straightened suddenly, breaking the tension, his eyes flashing with a brutal edge. "Sleep now, Isabella. You'll need your strength for when this game begins in the morning." As he turned and left, the door closing with a faint click, Isabella's heart thundered in her chest. Alone, drenched in fear and confusion, she realized one terrifying truth. Dominic Moretti wasn't just a man. He was a storm she couldn't escape. And maybe, even if she tried, one she didn't want to. The candlelight flickered across the room, shadows dancing on the walls like ghosts of what was to come. And Isabella, lying down but unable to close her eyes, understood something she couldn't yet admit to herself. Her nights, and her heart, would never be hers again. Morning light seeped through the heavy velvet curtains, muted and gray, like the storm hadn't quite left the world. Isabella lay awake, staring at the ceiling, heart still pounding from the previous night. Every sound in the mansion felt amplified, the ticking of a grand clock, the distant murmur of servants, even the soft hum of the city outside. She was trapped, and worse, she knew it. A knock at the door jolted her from her thoughts. "Come in," she called, voice trembling despite her effort to sound composed. The door opened slowly. Dominic stood there, dressed impeccably in a tailored black suit, hair still damp from the rain that clung to him like a dark halo. His green eyes scanned her, unblinking, sharp, calculating. The heat from his presence hit her immediately. "Good morning," he said, his voice low, almost intimate, yet edged with the authority that made her knees weak. "I hope you slept well." I did," she whispered, unsure whether she was lying to comfort herself or him. Dominic stepped inside, closing the door behind him with a soft click that echoed in the room. "We begin today," he said. "The world you've entered, it doesn't forgive hesitation. It doesn't Reward weakness. Isabella swallowed hard. Her pulse raced. What does that mean? She asked, voice barely audible. He moved closer, each step measured, deliberate, until he was standing near her, almost crowding her space. It means, he said, voice dropping, that you will learn to obey, not because you're afraid, though you should be, but because surrender is survival, and perhaps pleasure. Her stomach twisted. Pleasure? Obedience? The words ignited something inside her she couldn't understand, or resist. Dominic circled her slowly as if inspecting her, evaluating her responses. His gaze lingered, studying every movement, every subtle shift in her posture. You're trembling, he observed, a faint smirk on his lips. Part fear, part anticipation. Interesting combination. She tried to step back, but his presence pressed her into place. I don't know what you want from me, she said, voice shaking. I want you to understand, he said, leaning close, his breath brushing her ear. That you belong to me now. Your thoughts, your actions, even your desires, are no longer entirely your own. And trust me, resisting will only make the lessons more intense. A shiver ran down her spine, equal parts dread and a forbidden, confusing thrill. She hated herself for the way her heart raced, hated him for the way he made her feel. He stepped back abruptly, letting the tension linger like a tangible presence in the room. Dress, he commanded, voice sharp. We're going to breakfast, with your family. Her heart skipped. Breakfast? With them? Her family? Who had delivered her into this nightmare? The thought made her stomach knot with anger and humiliation. But she knew better than to protest. Not yet. Dominic's eyes softened just enough. A flicker of obsession, of something hidden beneath the brutality, to make her doubt her own defiance. You'll learn, Isabella, he whispered, almost tenderly. In time, you'll understand why you can't leave, why no one can take you from me. She bit her lip, trying to steel herself, to push down the storm of fear, desire, and confusion that raged inside her. But deep down, she knew the truth. Dominic Moretti had already started, claiming her, not just her body, but her mind, her heart. And perhaps, she feared, her very soul. As the footsteps of the servants echoed down the hallway, Dominic gestured toward the door. Isabella took a deep breath, knowing the first real test of her new life was about to begin, and that nothing in her past had prepared her for the storm waiting outside her room. The dining hall was enormous, a cathedral of polished wood and golden accents. Sunlight streamed through the tall windows, but it did nothing to lighten the mood. Isabella sat stiffly at the table, hands clasped tightly in her lap, trying to steady her shaking. Every instinct screamed for her to flee, but escape was impossible. Not with Dominic Moretti sitting across from her, eyes dark and commanding, like a predator watching its prey. Her family was already seated, stiff smiles plastered across their faces. Her father's gaze was sharp, tinged with guilt, while her mother's hand trembled slightly as she poured tea. Even her younger brother seemed tense, glancing between Isabella and Dominic as if expecting violence at any moment. Dominic leaned back in his chair, one arm draped casually along the back, the other resting on the table. Every movement radiated confidence, control, and a quiet, lethal authority. "Good morning," he said smoothly, voice low but carrying across the room. "Let's make this civilized." Isabella's pulse raced. She tried to speak, to explain, to apologize, but Dominic's piercing green eyes met hers, a silent warning. "Say nothing." Her father cleared his throat. "Dominic, thank you for coming. Dominic raised a single hand, cutting him off effortlessly. "I didn't come for pleasantries," he said. His tone was calm, almost polite, but every word carried weight, like a hammer striking stone. I came because Isabella is now under my protection, and anyone who forgets that will regret it. Her mother's hand froze mid-air, the teacup trembling. Isabella's heart sank. Her family had delivered her into this world of fear and power, and Dominic was reminding them who truly held control. Dominic's gaze drifted to Isabella, locking eyes with her. The intensity made her shiver. "You will address me with respect," he murmured, voice just loud enough for her to hear. "Do not test me in front of your family." A bead of sweat slid down her temple. She opened her mouth to protest, to defend herself, but she knew any words could betray weakness. Instead, she nodded, swallowing hard, feeling the invisible chains tighten around her. Her brother, braver, or perhaps more foolish, leaned forward. "Isabella, are you—" Dominic's head snapped toward him, eyes narrowing. The air seemed to thicken. "Do not speak," he said, each word precise, dangerous. The younger man froze, color draining from his face. Isabella's stomach twisted at the quiet, lethal authority Dominic wielded with just a look. The rest of the breakfast passed in tense silence, broken only by Dominic's calculated remarks. Occasionally, his gaze would flick to Isabella, and she felt a dangerous mix of fear, fascination, and something else she didn't understand. Desire, awareness, every glance, every subtle movement reminded her that she was his, and he was not a man to be challenged. As plates were cleared, Dominic leaned back slightly, his expression unreadable. "This meal is over," he said. "Isabella, you'll follow me. There are things you need to understand about your new life, rules, expectations, consequences." Her pulse thundered. Consequences. Every nerve in her body screamed warning, and yet, a strange part of her could not tear her eyes away from him. The man who terrified her, consumed her thoughts, and now held her family and her life completely in his hands. As she rose to follow him, her father whispered something under his breath, guilt heavy in his voice. But Dominic's eyes caught the movement, and a shadow of warning flickered across his face. No one dared challenge him, no one. And Isabella realized, as she walked behind him through the echoing hallways of the mansion, that the world she had known, her family, her freedom, her choices, was gone. And in its place, Dominic Moretti's cold, brutal yet intoxicating world had begun. The grand hallway felt colder than the dining hall, though the sun had risen higher, cutting pale light across the marble floors. Isabella's heels echoed against the stone as she followed. Dominic, her stomach tight with anxiety. Every step reminded her that this was no ordinary morning, no ordinary man. This was Dominic Moretti, and every inch of this house belonged to him. He stopped before a tall oak door, polished and foreboding. "This is where it begins," he said, his voice low, deliberate, each word pressing against her like weight. "You need to understand one simple truth, Isabella. Obedience isn't optional. Submission isn't a choice. And desire will become part of your survival." Her heart slammed. I don't understand," she whispered, voice barely audible. Dominic tilted his head, green eyes narrowing, a shadow of a smile brushing his lips. "You will," he said simply. Then, without another word, he opened the door. Inside was a room unlike anything Isabella had seen before. It was minimalist, yet elegant, marble floors, heavy curtains, a single desk, and a few strategically placed mirrors. Along the walls, sunlight filtered in, cutting through the shadows, but it did little to soften the tension. "You will stand there." He gestured to the center of the room. "And you will watch. Watch me. Watch yourself and watch how this world works. You are not weak, but you will need to learn to control what you cannot resist. That begins now." She swallowed hard, stepping into the center, her hands trembling. What am I watching?" Dominic moved with fluid precision, each step purposeful, measured. He circled her slowly, his eyes absorbing every detail, his presence a storm pressing against her skin. "You are learning, Isabella," he said softly. "How to navigate fear, and desire. Two forces that will define your survival here. Her stomach churned, heat rising despite the chill. Every glance, every subtle shift in his stance, made her pulse spike. She hated the way her breath caught at the sound of his voice, hated the flutter in her chest that betrayed her fear, and something darker, something she couldn't name. "Your family," he continued, voice dropping. "Brought you here, yes, but you need to understand. No one will protect you but me, and protection comes at a price. Obedience, trust, and understanding the lines that cannot be crossed." Isabella's hands clenched at her sides. She wanted to protest, to argue, to reclaim her autonomy, but the weight of his gaze pinned her in place, 1,000 unspoken threats swirling. In the air, he leaned in, just slightly, so close she could feel the heat of his body. "You're already learning," he whispered almost tenderly. "Fear is easy. Fascination is harder. Desire, that's the lesson you'll carry with you for the rest of your life." The room seemed to shrink, the mirrors reflecting her image, small, trembling, and utterly exposed. Dominic stepped back, letting the tension linger, unbroken, suffocating. "Tomorrow," he said, voice steady, unyielding, "we'll begin the next stage. But tonight, remember this moment. Remember that obedience, fascination, and fear, they are your guides now. Ignore them at your peril." Isabella's legs trembled as she left the room, following him silently. Each step was heavier than the last. Every glance she stole at him reminded her that she had already been claimed, not just by his hands, but by his presence, his power, his obsession. The mansion was silent around them, servants moving quietly, unaware of the storm inside the walls. But Isabella knew. The real storm was Dominic Moretti himself. And she, whether she admitted it or not, was at the very center. The night fell heavy over the Moretti estate, draping the mansion in silence so thick it felt deliberate. Isabella stood alone in her room, staring at her reflection in the mirror. She barely recognized the woman looking back at her. Her eyes were darker now, guarded, conflicted, aware in ways innocence was never meant to be. A soft knock broke the silence. Her breath hitched. "Come in," she said, forcing steadiness into her voice. The door opened, and Dominic stepped inside. He had changed. No suit, no tie. Just a black shirt rolled at the sleeves, revealing powerful forearms marked faintly with scars. He looked less like a businessman, and more like exactly what he was. A man built for violence, for control. "This is your first test," he said calmly. Her heart slammed against her ribs. "Test?" she echoed. "Yes." His gaze locked onto hers, sharp and unyielding. Not of obedience alone, of trust. He gestured toward the door. "Walk with me." They moved through the mansion in silence, their footsteps echoing down corridors dimly lit by sconces. Each step tightened the knot in her stomach. Where was he taking her? What was he expecting from her? They stopped outside a private study. Dominic opened the door. Inside, the air was heavy with tension. A man sat in a chair at the center of the room, bloodied, bruised, restrained. His eyes widened when he saw Dominic. "Boss, please," the man began. Dominic raised a hand. Silence fell instantly. Isabella's breath caught. Her pulse roared in her ears. "Dominic, what is this?" she whispered. "This," he said calmly, "is a traitor. Someone who thought my mercy was weakness." Her stomach twisted. She took an instinctive step back, but Dominic's hand closed gently, around her wrist, not rough, not kind, possessive. "You don't look away," he said softly. "You don't run. You stand with me." Her chest tightened. "I'm not like you," she whispered. "I know," he replied, and for the first time something unreadable flickered in his eyes. "That's why this matters." The man in the chair sobbed, begged, promised. Isabella felt tears burn her eyes. I can't watch this. Dominic stepped closer, lowering his voice so only she could hear. I am not asking you to become me, he said. I'm asking you to understand me. The silence stretched. Every second felt like a breaking point. Then Dominic turned away from her, and with one clean, controlled movement, gave a single command. The guards moved in. Isabella flinched, but she did not scream, did not run, did not collapse. She stood. When it was over, the room was quiet again. Dominic turned back to her slowly, searching her face, his jaw tight. You stayed, he said. Her voice shook. I didn't have a choice. Yes, he said softly. You did. He stepped closer, close enough that she could feel his warmth, his gravity. His hand rose, not to hurt her, but to brush a single tear from her cheek. That, he murmured, is strength. Her breath stuttered. Why are you doing this to me? His eyes darkened. Because the world I live in would devour you alive, he said, and because I refuse to let anything touch what's mine. The word mine sent a dangerous shiver through her. He leaned in, his forehead resting briefly against hers, intimate, restrained, electric. You passed, he whispered. But understand this, Isabella. Every test from here on out will cost you something. As he pulled away, leaving her standing in the aftermath of fear, power, and something. Dangerously close to connection, Isabella realized the truth she had been fighting since the night she ran. Dominic Moretti wasn't just breaking her innocence. He was reshaping it, and against all reason, she was starting to let him. The morning light was softer this time, filtering through the heavy curtains in golden beams. But it did nothing to calm the storm in Isabella's chest. She sat at the edge of her bed, still trembling, from last night's lesson, wondering if she would ever be able to walk through the halls without fear, and yet there was an undeniable pull in her stomach whenever Dominic entered the room. He appeared without knocking, as always. Today he carried a tray, breakfast, freshly baked, croissants, fruit, and a steaming cup of coffee, arranged with meticulous care. You'll eat, he said simply, setting the tray on the small table beside her bed. Food first, then rules. Isabella hesitated. The gesture was oddly tender, but her instinct screamed that beneath the gentleness was something darker, something possessive. Dominic watched her, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Do not mistake this for kindness, he said. It's preparation, fuel, survival. She picked up the croissant with shaking hands, barely tasting it. Every bite reminded her that Dominic controlled even these small, intimate moments. The thought made her pulse quicken, infuriating and confusing her at the same time. Finish that, he said, sitting across from her. Then stand. Isabella obeyed, her throat tight. Dominic's eyes never left hers, scanning, calculating, claiming. Today, he began, voice low, precise. You will learn about comfort and control. You will see that power can be both brutal and indulgent, that what terrifies you can also captivate you. He gestured toward a luxurious chair near the fireplace. Sit. She did. Her gaze flickered to the fire, then back to him. He stood beside her, hand resting lightly on the armrest, close enough that the warmth radiated into her skin, close enough that she could smell him. Smoky, sharp, intoxicating. You are mine, he said quietly, almost a whisper, but the weight of it pressed against her like gravity. And I am obsessed with every detail of you, your fears, your reactions, even the way your eyes widen when I speak. Isabella felt a shiver, not entirely from fear. She clenched her hands in her lap. I don't want this, she whispered, but the words lacked conviction. Dominic leaned closer, so close she could feel his breath. No, he said. You don't get to choose yet, but you will learn that sometimes desire follows power, and resistance can be exquisite. Her heart thudded painfully. She wanted to look away, wanted to escape the pull he had over her. But every instinct told her she couldn't. She was trapped in the gravity of him. His obsession, his control, his presence. He straightened, a flicker of a smirk crossing his face. "Rest now," he said. "You'll need your strength. The mansion, the world, me, will demand more than you imagine." As he left, Isabella's thoughts raced. She hated how she was beginning to crave his attention. She hated the way her pulse still quickened at his words, his closeness. She hated herself for the flicker of fascination she could not extinguish. And yet, buried deep beneath fear and defiance, one dangerous, unspoken truth settled in her chest. Dominic Moretti's obsession with her was undeniable, and she was beginning to be obsessed with him, too. The mansion felt colder after he left, yet somehow more suffocating. Every shadow, every whisper of the wind reminded her. She was claimed, pampered, controlled, observed, and she knew it. Tonight she would sleep under his roof. Tomorrow she would face another lesson, and somewhere in between fear, fascination, and forbidden desire, Isabella Rossi understood one terrifying fact. Dominic Moretti's obsession was not just his power, it was his way of owning her heart. The mansion was quiet now, the storm long gone, leaving only the soft hum of the city outside. Isabella sat on the edge of her bed, trying to calm the storm in her chest. Every lesson, every test, every moment with Dominic had left her breathless, terrified, and oddly aware of sensations she didn't want to feel. A soft knock echoed against the door. "Come in," she said, voice barely steady. Dominic entered without hesitation, carrying nothing this time. He moved with the same fluid, precision that made him look predatory. But tonight, there was something different in his eyes. Something raw, intense, personal. "You're thinking," he said quietly, taking a step closer. "I can see it. And thinking is dangerous." Isabella swallowed hard. I can't stop," she whispered, the words barely audible. He stopped a mere foot away from her, and the air between them felt charged, electric. "You wonder about me, about this world, about yourself," he said, each word deliberate, heavy. "And you should. Curiosity is inevitable." She averted her eyes, heart pounding, heat rising to her cheeks. I don't want to feel this way," she confessed. Dominic's gaze softened slightly, but only for a heartbeat. Then it hardened again, as if reinforced by steel. "You already do," he said, "and denying it won't change the truth. You're mine, Isabella. You're mine in ways you don't even understand yet." Her chest tightened. He lifted a hand, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face, lingering just a moment too long. "Your heart will fight it," he murmured, voice low, almost intimate. "But your mind, your body, they've already started answering me." The admission made her pulse spike. Fear, confusion, and something else. Something that made her body betray her, coursed through her. She hated it. Hated him. Hated herself. Dominic leaned in slightly, the scent of him overwhelming, sharp, and intoxicating. "I will protect you," he said, softer now. "From the world, from danger, from anyone who thinks they can take what's mine." She swallowed hard. Even from yourself?" His lips curved into the faintest smirk. "Especially from yourself," he whispered. "Because the only way to survive me is to accept it. Accept me. Accept us." Her breath caught. "Us?" The word lingered in the air like a forbidden promise. Dominic stepped back just slightly, enough to release the suffocating intensity, but not enough to let her relax. "Tonight," he said, voice steady, commanding. You will sleep. Alone. Yes. But remember this moment. Remember who watches you, who owns you, who desires you. Isabella's mind spun. Desire, ownership, fear, obsession, all tangled into one suffocating knot she couldn't untie. As he left, closing the door silently behind him, she pressed her hands to her face, trying to steady herself. But the truth burned bright, undeniable. Dominic Moretti's obsession wasn't just about control. It was personal and terrifyingly intoxicating. She sat in silence, heart racing, questioning her own emotions. Was it fear, desire, or something dangerously in between? And somewhere deep, a flicker of something she couldn't name whispered. Maybe she wanted him too. The evening air was thick with the scent of rain-damp stone as Isabella wandered the halls, restless. The mansion was quiet now, but the tension from earlier lessons clung to her like a second skin. Every corner, every shadow reminded her she was Dominic Moretti's, and she had yet to truly understand what that meant. A soft knock drew her attention. She froze. "Enter," she called, heart pounding. Dominic appeared, as always, unannounced. This time there was no formal air, no harsh commands. He simply stepped inside, green eyes locking onto hers with something deeper, more personal than before. "Sit," he said, gesturing to a chair near the fire. Isabella hesitated but obeyed. Every nerve in her body screamed to resist, but every instinct whispered submission. He moved closer, circling her slowly, as he had during her first lesson. But now there was a subtle softness, a faint warmth behind the intensity. "You've been thinking about me," he said, voice low, deliberate. "About what all of this means." She swallowed hard, her pulse racing. I don't know." "Exactly," he whispered, stopping just a step away. She could feel the heat radiating from him, the faint brush of his sleeve against her arm. And that's why this is so dangerous. Her breath caught, body tense. The proximity, the quiet, the intensity of his gaze. It was almost unbearable. She hated herself for how aware she was of every inch of him. Her pulse, her breath, her every nerve betrayed her fear, and something darker. Dominic leaned in slightly, close enough that his words brushed against her ear. "I want you to understand," he murmured, "that you cannot fight what you feel. You can resist, for now, but the pull between us is inevitable." Her stomach twisted. You make me feel things I shouldn't." A smirk tugged at the corner of his lips, though his eyes remained piercing. "Good," he said, softly. Fear, fascination, desire, they all work together. And you're learning faster than I expected. He stepped back just enough to give her space, but close enough that the warmth lingered. Isabella's chest heaved, breaths shallow, heart hammering. She wanted to step away, to regain control, but she couldn't. Not entirely. Not when he had claimed every part of her attention, her mind, her emotions. "Tonight," he continued, voice steady, almost intimate, "you will sleep alone. But know this." His gaze bore into hers, unwavering. Every thought, every hesitation, every heartbeat of, "Yours belongs to me now, and I will claim it whether you fight or not." Her hands clenched in her lap, a mixture of defiance and unwilling surrender coursing through her. She hated the effect he had on her, hated herself for the way her pulse fluttered at his words. Her cheeks warmed at his proximity. Dominic's voice softened ever so slightly. "And yet," he said, "I am not cruel. Entirely. I am patient, observant, and obsessive about you." Isabella's breath hitched. Obsessive. That word, so personal, so intimate, sent a shiver down her spine. She wanted to deny it, to fight it, but the truth lingered in her chest like a flame she could not snuff. As Dominic finally turned, stepping toward the door, she realized, tonight, her body, her mind, even her heart were caught between fear and fascination, between resistance and attraction, and deep down, she understood a terrifying, intoxicating truth. Dominic Moretti wasn't just a storm outside her world. He was a storm inside her, and it was already too late to escape. The mansion was silent again, the only sound the distant ticking of a clock and the faint rustle of curtains in the night breeze. Isabella sat by the fire, knees drawn up, heart pounding. Every lesson, every test, every encounter with Dominic had brought her closer to a place she did not want to go, and yet could not ignore. A soft knock made her flinch. "Come in," she whispered, voice trembling. Dominic entered, as always, silent but commanding. Tonight he was dressed simply. Black shirt, sleeves rolled, pants perfectly fitted. His green eyes scanned her, not coldly this time, but with something sharper, more intense, obsessed, personal, possessive. "You think you've learned control," he said softly, stepping closer. "But control is an illusion when desire is involved, and I see it in you, even if you deny it." Isabella's pulse spiked. I don't know what you mean," she said, her voice faltering. He stopped just a step away, his presence pressing against her like gravity. "You do," he said, low and deliberate. "Every glance you steal, every shiver you try to hide, every hesitation, I see it, and I am obsessed with it. With you." Her hands trembled in her lap. Fear, confusion, and something darker twisted together in her chest. She wanted to step back, but her legs refused. She wanted to hide, but every nerve in. Her body was aware of him. Dominic leaned closer, so close she could feel the heat of his body, the faint brush of his sleeve against her arm. "You cannot fight this, Isabella," he whispered. "Not fully. And why would you want to? Some part of you craves it." Her breath caught. I don't," she stammered, but even she knew the words were empty. The truth fluttered dangerously in her chest. She had felt it. Fear, yes, but also fascination. Desire, a pull she couldn't name. He studied her face, green eyes piercing, searching. "Look at me," he said softly. She met his gaze. And in that moment, the mansion seemed to shrink around them. The firelight flickered across his sharp features, highlighting the obsession, the danger, the intensity. "Tonight," he said, voice dropping lower, nearly a growl, "you will learn that I am not just a man you obey. I am a storm, and storms are unavoidable." Isabella's chest tightened. You're terrifying," she whispered. Dominic smirked faintly, a dangerous curve of his lips. "And yet," he said, "you cannot turn away. Not entirely. Your heart betrays you. Your body betrays you. Even now, it wants me." Her pulse roared in her ears. She wanted to deny him, wanted to resist, but she couldn't. Every nerve in her body screamed awareness. Fear and something darker collided violently in her chest. He leaned in even closer, their faces inches apart. "One step closer, and you'll know what it's like to surrender completely," he murmured. "One step closer, and there will be no going back. Do you dare?" The words hung heavy in the air. Isabella's breath trembled. Her heart raced. Her mind screamed to resist, but her body betrayed her. And then, as Dominic's hand hovered near hers, the tension snapped, not into relief, but into the electric, intoxicating edge of possibility. She was caught on the knife's edge of fear and desire. Dominic pulled back, just enough to leave her trembling, breathless, aware of every heartbeat, every unspoken thought. "Tonight," he said softly, almost intimate, "you will sleep alone. But remember this moment. Remember the storm. And remember whose it is." Alone, Isabella sank into the chair, hands shaking, mind spinning. The pull between fear, fascination, and desire was undeniable. She hated it. She hated him. And yet, some part of her, terrifying and intoxicating, wanted more. The mansion felt different at night. Quieter, heavier, as if it too waited for what was about to happen. Isabella paced her room, heart hammering, palms sweaty. She had tried to push the thoughts of Dominic away, tried to deny the pull between them, but the truth pressed against her chest like an invisible weight. She could not escape him. A soft knock at the door made her freeze. "Enter," she whispered. Dominic stepped inside, quiet as a shadow, eyes scanning her like a predator sizing up his prey. He carried nothing tonight, no commands, no lessons, just the intensity of him filling the room. "You've been thinking," he said, voice low, deliberate. "And thinking is dangerous when you're already mine." Her pulse quickened. I'm trying not to," she whispered, though she knew the lie was futile. He stepped closer, and the heat of him pressed against her even before he spoke again. "Trying is irrelevant," he murmured, "because your body, your mind, they've already betrayed you." Isabella's breath hitched. She wanted to retreat, to escape, but she felt rooted in place, caught between fear and fascination. Dominic circled her slowly, his green eyes never leaving hers. "You feel it," he said softly. "The pull, the tension, the fear, and the desire. Don't deny it. Embrace it, if only for a moment." Her chest tightened. I can't," she stammered, voice trembling. "I won't." He cut her off gently, yet firmly, placing a hand lightly on her jaw, tilting her face to meet his gaze. "You're lying to yourself," he whispered, "and I can see everything you try to hide." Isabella's stomach fluttered, her knees weak. She hated the way her body responded, hated the way her pulse betrayed her, hated the pull she couldn't fight. And yet, part of her, terrifying, intoxicating, wanted him closer. Dominic's thumb brushed her cheek, tracing the curve of her face, lingering just long enough to make her heart race. "Fear me, yes," he murmured. "Resist me, yes. But do not pretend. You do not crave me." Her breath caught. She wanted to deny it, wanted to push him away, but the words stuck in her throat. Resistance faltered. Her mind screamed no, but her body, her pulse, her trembling, hands betrayed her entirely. Dominic leaned in, close enough for her to feel the warmth of his chest, the faint brush of his lips near her temple. "This is the edge," he whispered, voice rougher now. "The line between control and surrender. And tonight, you will feel it." Isabella's chest heaved. Her heart thundered in her ears. She was terrified. She was mesmerized. She was caught completely in the pull of Dominic Moretti, his obsession, his power, his intensity. He stepped back just slightly, giving her enough space to breathe, but not enough to escape the weight of his presence. "Tonight," he said softly, almost intimate, "you sleep alone. But understand this. I am watching. I am thinking. I am claiming." Isabella sank to the floor, back against the wall, hands trembling, mind spinning. Fear and fascination warred within her chest, and a dangerous, intoxicating thought whispered through her. Perhaps she wanted to be claimed. And as Dominic's shadow lingered in the doorway for a moment before disappearing into the night, Isabella realized a terrifying, exhilarating truth. The line had been crossed, and she would never be the same. The night was silent, heavy with anticipation. Isabella sat by the fireplace, knees tucked to her, chest trying to steady her trembling. Every encounter with Dominic had pushed her closer to the edge, closer to surrender, and tonight she knew the storm would break. A soft, almost inaudible sound made her look up. The door opened, and there he was. Dominic Moretti, every inch a predator, his green eyes fixed on her with an intensity that stole her breath. No words, no gestures, just his presence, filling the room with heat and danger. "You've been resisting," he said finally, voice low, deliberate. "But the truth." He stepped closer, each movement measured, predatory. "You can't, and you won't. Not anymore." Her chest heaved. I won't," she whispered, though the words sounded hollow even to her own ears. Dominic's hand brushed her arm, lightly, intentionally, sending a shiver through her. "Don't lie to me," he murmured. "You crave this. Me. Whether you admit it or not." Her pulse thundered. Her heart raced. Fear and fascination collided violently inside her. She wanted to step back, to escape, but every instinct screamed that escape was impossible. She was caught, utterly, irreversibly. He leaned in, his lips dangerously close to hers, close enough that she could feel his breath, warm and intoxicating. "This is your first lesson," he whispered. "Not in obedience, not in fear, but in surrender, and I will claim you." Her body betrayed her. Knees weak, hands trembling, breath shallow. She hated how aware she was of him, hated the pull she could not resist, but part of her, terrifying and exhilarating, wanted him closer. Dominic's hand rose to her cheek, tilting her face up. His thumb traced the curve of her jaw, lingering, deliberate. His gaze searched hers, demanding, claiming. "Do you understand?" he whispered. "This isn't just control. This is desire, and it's yours now too." She couldn't speak, only nodded, heart pounding, pulse racing, mind spinning with a mix of fear and longing. With a controlled, deliberate movement, Dominic closed the last inch between them. His lips brushed hers. Not a kiss, but a claim, a promise, a warning. The heat of him pressed against her, igniting every nerve. Isabella's breath caught. The world narrowed to the press of his body, the weight of his gaze, the intoxicating pull of him. She wanted to resist, and yet she couldn't. Not tonight. Not now. He pulled back just slightly, leaving her trembling, breathless, aware of every heartbeat, every thought, every flutter of desire she had tried to deny. His green eyes held hers, dangerous and intimate all at once. "This," he whispered, "is only the beginning. And I will have you, body and soul, whether you resist or not." Alone now, Isabella sank into the chair, hands shaking, mind spinning. She had felt his obsession, his power, his possession, and a dangerous, intoxicating part of her wanted him to claim her fully. Her pulse raced, body trembling, heart pounding, and she knew one undeniable truth. Dominic Moretti had crossed every line, and she was helpless to resist. The mansion around her seemed to shrink, shadows dancing on the walls, whispering of danger, desire, and obsession. And Isabella realized, shivering and breathless, her life, her heart, and her very soul now belonged to him, whether she wanted it or not. The fire had burned low, casting long, flickering shadows across the walls. Isabella sat on the edge of the sofa, fingers intertwined, heart hammering in her chest. Her mind raced, caught between fear and fascination, between wanting to resist and wanting, terrifyingly, to give in. A soft sound made her look up. Dominic stood in the doorway, green eyes locked on her, unreadable yet burning with obsession. His presence alone sent a shiver through her body, a mixture of dread and desire she could not name. "You've been avoiding me," he said softly, stepping closer. Even after everything, you still think you have a choice. Her voice trembled. I don't, she stammered. But Dominic's gaze silenced her before she could finish. Stop pretending, he said, voice low, intimate, dangerous. Your body, your heart, they betray you. And your mind, you're fighting something inevitable. Isabella's chest tightened. I don't want to feel this, she whispered. Dominic's expression softened, just for a moment, a flicker of vulnerability behind the intensity. Then it hardened again, possessive and commanding. And yet, you do. He stepped closer, close enough that the heat of his body pressed against hers. Her pulse raced uncontrollably. She wanted to push him away, wanted to resist, but every instinct told her she could not. Dominic's hand brushed her cheek, tilting her face to meet his gaze. Look at me, he whispered. You're mine, and I will claim every part of you, body, mind, and heart. Do you understand? Tears pricked her eyes. I don't know if I can. Then you will learn, he murmured, pressing a kiss to her temple, soft but demanding. You will learn that resistance is meaningless, and that surrender is inevitable. Isabella's knees weakened. She tried to pull back, but his hands held her gently, impossibly firm. Her heart raced. Her breath caught. The tension between them was electric, suffocating, intoxicating. Dominic's lips hovered near hers. I am obsessed, he admitted, voice rough with raw emotion. With you. With every heartbeat, every thought, every glance you try to hide. You are mine in ways you don't even understand yet. Her hands trembled on his chest. I'm scared, she whispered. He cupped her face, green eyes burning with intensity and a rare flicker of tenderness. Good, he murmured. Fear sharpens, fear binds, and in that fear, you'll discover the truth of your desire. Isabella's body betrayed her, every nerve alight, every thought consumed with him. She hated it, hated him, hated herself. Yet, a dangerous, thrilling part of her wanted him closer, wanted to surrender. Dominic leaned in, lips brushing hers. Not a kiss, not yet, but close enough to ignite a fire she could not contain. His green eyes searched hers, reading every flicker of doubt, fear, and undeniable attraction. You feel it, he whispered, the pull. You cannot fight it, and I won't let you. Her breath caught, heart hammering, mind spinning. She was on the edge, terrified, exhilarated, helpless, and captivated all at once. And as Dominic stepped back, leaving only the weight of his gaze pressing into her chest, Isabella realized a terrifying truth. The line between fear and desire had vanished, and she was teetering on the edge of complete surrender. The mansion was quiet, almost unbearably so. Isabella sat on the sofa, firelight flickering across her face, heart pounding like a war drum. She had tried to prepare herself, to steel her emotions, but nothing could prepare her for him, Dominic Moretti. The door opened silently. He entered, every movement measured, every step deliberate, filling the room with a tension that made her pulse race. His green eyes fixed on her, piercing, relentless, possessed. You've been resisting, he said softly, voice low and deliberate. Even now you think you have a choice. Her breath hitched. I don't. Stop lying to yourself, he whispered, stepping closer. Every heartbeat, every thought. You. Feel it, the pull, the desire. You crave this me, whether you admit it or not. Isabella's knees trembled. She tried to pull back, tried to escape the gravity of him, but it was impossible. Every nerve in her body was alive, every inch of her consumed by his presence. Dominic closed the distance between them, his hand brushing a stray strand of hair from her face. The touch was gentle, yet his fingers held a possessive weight that made her pulse spike. "You are mine," he said softly. "Every part of you. And I will claim you. Body, mind, heart." Her lips parted, breath shallow, body trembling. I don't know if I can—" "You will," he whispered, pressing his forehead to hers. "And you want to. Deep down, you've wanted this since the first moment you realized I would not let you go." Her heart raced uncontrollably. Fear, fascination, desire, they collided violently inside her. She hated the way her body betrayed her, hated the pull she could not fight. Yet, a dangerous part of her wanted him, needed him closer. Dominic's lips brushed hers, not fully, but close enough to ignite a fire she could not contain. The contact was electric, suffocating, intoxicating. Every nerve in her body screamed in awareness. He leaned back slightly, green eyes locked on hers. "This is only the beginning," he murmured. "Tonight, you will understand how close control and desire really are, how irresistible, inevitable." Her body ached with the tension, every inch alive, every thought consumed with him. She wanted to resist, to run, to deny, but she could not. And deep down, she knew she did not want to. Dominic's hand traced the curve of her jaw, tilting her face upward. "Do you feel it?" He whispered, voice rough with emotion. "This connection, this pull, this obsession, you are mine, Isabella, and I am yours, whether you admit it or not." Tears pricked her eyes, a mixture of fear, longing, and something dangerously intoxicating. She hated him for the control, for the obsession, for the way her pulse fluttered at his every touch. And yet, she wanted him. Terrifyingly, overwhelmingly, she wanted him. He leaned in again, this time brushing his lips fully against hers. The kiss was slow, deliberate, consuming. Passion and desire intertwined with obsession and fear, leaving her trembling, breathless and aware of every heartbeat. When he finally pulled back, green eyes dark and intense, he whispered, "This is ours. And nothing will undo it, not now, not ever." Alone, Isabella sank against the sofa, shaking, breathless, mind and body aflame. She realized one undeniable truth. Dominic Moretti had claimed her, completely and irrevocably, and she had let him. The mansion was tense, silent in a way that made the walls themselves seem alive. Isabella sat in the study, staring at her trembling hands, her mind racing with the events of the night before. Dominic had claimed her, body, mind, and heart, and she could no longer deny the pull he had over her. A soft knock at the door made her jump. She hadn't expected anyone. "Isabella," a familiar voice called, hesitant, almost trembling. She turned. Her parents stood there, pale, eyes wide with a mixture of fear and regret. Her father's jaw was tight. Her mother's hands shook. They looked broken. What's happened?" her mother whispered. "Isabella, you're with him?" Dominic appeared behind her, silent, his green eyes scanning the room. The weight of his presence made her parents flinch. "I am here," he said evenly, calm but undeniably, commanding. "And she is with me. That is all you need to know." Her father's voice cracked. We didn't know. We didn't think—" "You forced her here," Dominic interrupted, voice sharp, controlled. "You sent her into my world, and now you regret it. But regret changes nothing. She is mine, and anyone who threatens that will answer to me." Isabella's chest tightened. Her parents' fear, her own, the suffocating intensity of Dominic, it was all too much. She felt like she was standing on the edge of a storm, powerless, yet unwilling to run. Her mother's lips trembled. We wanted her safe." Dominic's gaze softened. Not much, just a fraction. but it was enough to send a shiver through Isabella. "She is safe," he said, voice low, almost intimate, directed at her. "And no one will hurt her, not family, not enemies, not anyone. But understand this." His eyes flicked to her parents. "Hard, dangerous. Any threat will be met with consequences you cannot imagine." Her father swallowed hard, eyes flicking nervously toward him. We didn't know what world you—" Dominic stepped closer to Isabella, protective and possessive. "She is mine," he repeated. "And I will not allow anyone to compromise that." Isabella's pulse raced. She hated the fear, hated the tension. But she also felt a flicker of safety in the way he claimed her, protected her, obsessed with her well-being in his own dangerous way. Her mother's voice was barely a whisper. We only wanted her happiness. We didn't know it would be like this." Dominic's gaze returned to her, green eyes intense, unwavering. "Happiness is not a guarantee, in my world," he said softly, almost intimate. "But desire, obsession, and protection, those I can promise. And I will. For her." The air was thick with unspoken threats. The tension in the room was nearly unbearable. Isabella's heart pounded, not just from fear, but from the knowledge that Dominic's obsession was real, dangerous, and entirely focused on her. As he finally stepped back, leaving her parents shaken and regretful, Isabella realized something terrifying. Dominic's world was dangerous, unyielding, and dark. But she had never felt more alive, more claimed, more seen. And deep down, she knew. The coming days would test her heart, and her will like never before. But one thing was undeniable. Dominic Moretti's obsession was hers to navigate, and no one, not family, not enemies, would ever take him from her. The mansion was alive with shadows, the storm outside battering the windows, lightning, flashing like the heartbeat of the city itself. Isabella stood at the window, trembling, pulse racing, every nerve alive. Tonight, everything would come to a head. Dominic appeared behind her, silent, his presence dominating the room. The green eyes she had learned to fear, desire, and crave fixed on her with intensity she had never seen before. Obsession, possession, and something dangerously tender flickered in them all at once. "They came," he murmured, voice low, controlled. "The ones who thought they could take you from me. They underestimated me, and they will regret it." Isabella's chest tightened. Fear, yes, but also a thrill. She realized with terrifying clarity that in Dominic's world, danger and desire were inseparable, and she had already surrendered to both. Before she could respond, the sound of glass shattering echoed from the balcony. Dominic moved with impossible speed, pulling her behind him. Two men in black suits appeared, guns raised. But Dominic's presence alone was enough. He stepped forward, green eyes blazing, every muscle coiled like a panther ready to strike. "You touch her," he growled, low and dangerous, "and you die." The men hesitated, fear flashing in their eyes. Dominic didn't wait. In moments, it was over, swift, brutal, controlled. Isabella's breath caught as adrenaline coursed through her. She had seen his power before, but never this close, this personal, this protective. He turned to her then, chest heaving, eyes fierce yet gentle. "Do you see now?" he whispered, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "No one will harm you. No one. Not while I breathe." Isabella's hands trembled. I see," she whispered, her voice breaking. The fear, the thrill, the desire. It all collided inside her. Dominic's hands framed her face, green eyes locking onto hers with a heat that stole her breath. "You are mine," he said, voice rough with emotion. "Every part of you, mind, body, heart, and I will never let you go." Her pulse raced uncontrollably. I'm yours," she whispered, surrendering fully for the first time. Not just to him, but to the storm, the danger, the passion, the obsession that had claimed her heart. Dominic leaned in, capturing her lips in a kiss that was fierce, claiming, intimate. It was a kiss that spoke of obsession, of love twisted with danger, of possession entwined with desire. Isabella melted into him, hands clutching his shirt, body trembling, mind spinning. When he finally pulled back, his forehead rested against hers, green eyes searching hers with intensity and tenderness. "This is forever," he whispered, "and nothing, no threat, no fear will ever change it." Outside, the storm raged. Inside, the mansion was alive with the aftermath of danger and desire, and in the quiet between lightning flashes, Isabella realized something terrifying and exhilarating. She had never felt more alive, more claimed, more undeniably Dominic's than she did in that moment. He pulled her into a final embrace, possessive and protective, obsession and tenderness, entwined. The world could burn around them, enemies could strike, storms could rage, but in that instant they were untouchable. And as the firelight danced across their faces, the final truth settled in her heart. Dominic. Moretti was hers, and she was his, forever. And that's where our story ends, for now. Isabella and Dominic's world is dangerous, intense, and utterly unforgettable. Every heartbeat, every secret, every moment. They've claimed each other completely. If your heart raced, if your pulse quickened, if you felt the pull of desire and danger just like Isabella, imagine what's waiting for you in the next story. Don't miss a single twist, a single moment of passion, or every intoxicating turn in this dark, irresistible journey. Subscribe now and step back into the world of Dominic Moretti, where obsession burns, hearts are claimed, and danger is just the beginning, because once you enter, there's no turning back. Subscribe and let the darkness take hold.